Hello, I guess I'm making a video about God of War. Ironic because I'm recording Transformers and like a rhino from Spider-Man, but don't really have much in terms of editing, so whatever. I can't stand God of War fans. They kind of like falsely equate mythology to the actual games, keyword being falsely. And on top of it all, they just have this ridiculous sense of how strong these characters are. Like, they think Kratos would, like, whip his axe forward. Like, he'd grab his axe off the ground. Like the Leviathan axe. You know, ice powers, everything. He grabs his axe off the ground. He swings it, and, like, universes get destroyed by the resulting throw. When that's never really a feature present in the game. He kind of just has an axe, and it just so happens that he has an axe, and that axe can, like, do damage to people and break apart shit. It never breaks apart universes, mountains, cities. It doesn't do anything large scale. It's just an axe. And people act like this character is dealing in like insane multiverse level like shenanigans. Like he's just destroying entire universes by existing. A lot of this comes from equation with the mythology. You'll have people say, you know what, Hercules lifted the world. And I'm like, in the mythology, yeah. And they're like, well, the mythology's canon. I'm like, you can't prove that. There's no reason to presume that it is. The mythology is constantly contradicted. Plus, at that point, you're just scaling the mythological version of Hercules. And, if you want to kind of like apply mythological feats, I don't know why you wouldn't apply mythological feats to Record of Ragnarok or, Fate Stay Night or, God of the High School. God of the High School, I think it's called. I don't really care. I don't know why you wouldn't apply those feats to that character. Like, why wouldn't you, use the world feat for Record of Ragnarok Hercules? Or use the world feat for Stay Night Hercules? There's, like, no reason why it wouldn't apply. And if you're gonna say, well, he brought up the labors, well, the labors were brought up in those two stories too, so I guess they're all multiverse level. And so you kind of just get this circumstance where if you want to be internally consistent, every single adaptation of Hercules ever is multiverse level because he lifted the world. And that's just retarded because then at that point you're just arguing equal you're not arguing God of War Hercules is multiverse level. You're arguing every version of Hercules ever is multiverse level. But again, these people don't really adhere to like a rhyme of logic, so they just selectively choose that God of War is the only verse that has equation to real life mythology. Like no other verse gets the mythology scaling, just God of War. It's not even like God of War is that specifically accurate. I mean, Kratos in this like game series isn't the son of, I think he's the son of Ares or something in the mythology, but in the, obviously he isn't a Spartan either. But the point being is there's a lot of creative liberties taken, and I mean you'll get downvoted for saying it, but that's the truth. And you get false equation to mythology with Kronos too. They're like, Uranus is his dad, and he killed his dad. I'm like, well, we never see that cutscene happen in God of War, so it's like, well, why should I care? He killed his dad, and you got no proof for it. Where's the cutscene in the game where that occurs? Kronos never kills his dad in the video games. If he has a dad and his name is Uranus, we never see him kill him, so. And in Ascension, if you're gonna say that one dude in Ascension who punched universes or whatever, if you're gonna say that guy is Uranus, and that's who he is, and you're gonna say that's who he is because that's what the myths are or whatever, we see in that game he gets punched out and like his internals turn into the universe, so he's like clearly dead. So I don't think there was any intention of like Kronos fighting his father and killing him. And even then, it wouldn't scale to Kratos anyway because Kratos fought like a weakened version that was restrained by a temple. It's stupid. It's like, okay, so supposedly this Chronos dude can like fart away multiverses, like he could just destroy multiple universes at once, but he gets restrained by a fucking temple on his back to the point where he can't move, and Kratos is like walking on his head about to stab him with the blade of Olympus, and Chronos just can't even move. The temple on his back is restraining him, and the chains surrounding his body are holding the temple in place. But it's like, if he's this fucking strong, man, then what the fuck is the temple gonna do? You know, if you like destroy universes by like waving your hand, then I mean, I don't think a temple would do shit to you. But you know, these guys are kind of like pseudo intellectuals. They don't actually care about any sort of like logic or reason. They kind of just want to appeal to like the vague consensus which exists at the time. It's same kind of what like with Baldo stands do. Like they take like some fucking quotes from like the anime, and even then these like quotes aren't even like that, you know, in line with, you know, trying to say Momoshiki like no diffs Kaguya. I mean, the same statements are suggesting that a couple Zetsu could kill him. So it's like it's not even consistent with that. But the point is, these God of War fans, they don't care about like the logicality of the argument. They kind of care if they can push it and get like retards to buy into it. And yeah, you can, you know, push the argument and get retards to buy into it. I don't think that part is that difficult. I just think I don't think it's logically consistent to say like God of War, you know, destroys, you know, multiverses just by like throwing his axe or something. And then in the new games, there's like this Yggdrasil thing, right? And this is an actual like feat in the game. The problem is like when Thor hits the serpent back in time, there is no damage to like the area he's immediately at. He hits the serpent, it goes back in time. There is literally no damage to the surrounding environment. And I mean, if you don't give a fuck about feats or like actual showings in the game, and you just want to like use lore and mythology, I mean, good for you, but I'm not using that metric. If you want to like say God of War can like blank away multiverses, and he's a god though, I mean, cool. You'll hear this argument all the time. He's a god, though. I mean, Goku's a fucking god. Beerus is a fucking god. This argument doesn't mean anything. And you're gonna get some guy. He's like, well, Beerus isn't actually a god. He is called God of Destruction. He is a deity inside of the series, as much so as Kratos. And Goku is literally called a Super Saiyan God. He has God Ki. He's as much as a god as Kratos. So this argument of he's a god, though, is fucking retarded. Not to mention, people will argue Kratos is above other gods in the different verses because he killed, like, equivalent versions from his own series. So it's like if you put Record of Ragnarok, Hercules versus Kratos. Kratos kills gods, though, and that's like the argument. And it's like, well, Hercules from Record of Ragnarok is a deity too. But it's like they only apply he's a god though when it's like to wank him. It's like there's no fairness to it. It's never applied equally. People are just like selectively choosing to apply certain feats and metrics to Kratos that they don't apply to literally anyone else. I've never heard somebody tell me once in my life Goku is going to solo your verse because he's a Super Saiyan god and he has God Ki and he's a deity. So cope and save. Like that's so retarded. Do you know that every character in Bleach pretty well is a deity? Do you know that? Does Ichigo solo Kratos because he's a god though? And if you don't think Ichigo's a god, Shinigami literally means god of death. So if you don't think he's a god, you're literally denying what a Shinigami is. And if you want to deny what a Shinigami is, then you're literally denying what Bleach is. And what Bleach is about as an anime series. So it's like, if you do that, then you don't even care about Bleach. A lot of people are gonna get fucking pissy because it's like, well, I'm not adhering to your ideological belief in Kratos, like, whipping multiverses around or some shit. And then there's the shit about the temple where he like lifted the temple that had like a gateway to it to other realms. And the temple, all we have quotes from the animation director Bruno saying it was just the temple. He just lifted a huge temple. That was it. Of course, you could say the animation director is wrong and random idiots on the internet is right, but I'm going to trust the animation director more so than like random fucking idiots. If that's like offensive to you, then I guess it is. I mean, insofar as like feats are concerned and actual like metric, you know, defining shit. You actually, you know what the funny thing is too? You'll get like, dimensionality arguments. Well, this guy's above time, and then you apply that same shit to other verses, and they're like, get so annoyed. It's like Zeus from Record of Ragnarok. You're like, you know what? It said he surpassed time, so he's like 8D or some shit, and actually that means Kratos loses, and it just sees them to no end. I mean, I guess you could say above 40 because 4D is the dimension of time. But it's like if you apply the kind of like dimensionality arguments that they use to other verses, they get just so triggered. It's the same shit with like Mundus or other or Arceus, whose only like notable thing they did is they created a singular universe, like just one universe, not five universes, one universe. And you go, well, Kaguya created like her realms, and I guess those could be, set as universes, because in the games, like Ninja Storm, there's like scenes where, you can see nebulae and galaxies, so it's like, well, couldn't you say that Kaguya is just as universe level as Mundus or Arceus? There's no internal consistency to any of it. It's just all fucking bullshit.